Welcome back this week. This week we're going to be looking at Philippians chapter 3 verse number 10. And I want to take for just a thought, Paul's statement from Philippians chapter 3 verse 10 that says that I may know him and the power of his resurrection. Paul was really showing us his heart desire, his desire to know Christ. After all his exploit, after all that Paul had done, be very mindful that Paul wasn't talking about being born again. He wanted something much more. An average believer just gets born again and then fizzles out, waiting to die. But Paul is saying that I want to know him. I want to know him. I want to have an intimate relationship. I want to have an experience, a walking experience, a daily experience with Christ, an intimacy, an intimacy, that kind of an intimacy that you have between a husband and wife. I want to experience him fully. I want to experience Christ in a daily, daily. I want to know him and the power of his resurrection. You see, Job tells us in the book of Job, chapter 42, verse 5. He says, my ears have heard of him. My ears have heard of him, but now I see him. What we're talking about this week is experience on another level. Having a real experience. Having a real experience. You see, this kind of experience will help one's life to be submitted, to be fully submitted, living a submitted life to the purposes of God. Fully submitted. And a life that is fully submitted is the ultimate of a believer. The ultimate of a believer is not to acquire this or that, but the ultimate aim of a believer is to be fully submitted. And at the center of this, Christ is in control. Christ is seated at the center of your life, making decisions, giving you direction, opening to you the mysteries of his will. Another thing that Paul said was that Paul said, and the power of his resurrection. The power of his resurrection. Paul wants, one thing about resurrection is that resurrection brought Jesus out of the grave. The grave could not hold him. Death could not hold him. Paul was telling us that he was pointing us to a life beyond the things that bind us in this world. Culture, white, black, young, old, male, female, wants to break us out of the power of his resurrection, the things that bind us, the systems of this world that bind us. He wants us to be free. He wants you and I, he says, and the power of his resurrection, no longer in the grave. No longer in the grave. The power of his resurrection helps us to living above the systems of this world. I want to live above. I want to live above the systems of this world. I pray that you will live above the system, the cultures that bind men. Oh, you are this, you are that. I'm white, I'm black, you are yellow, you speak this language, you go to this school and all that. I want to live above that. The power of his resurrection, it's a power of freedom. It's a power that makes men free, that gives men freedom, the only freedom that comes from above. Hallelujah. That helps men to be released from the captivity of this world. Hallelujah. From the systems, the aspirations, the culture that gives you a superior state of living. Resurrection, hallelujah, really means that you're free. You're free from the inside out. You are free from the inside. Jesus said something and it blessed me. In John chapter 14 verse 30, he said, the prince of this world comes. The prince of this world is coming and finds nothing in me. When you get to that state, you're free from the devil, free from his dictates and his rulership. You're free indeed. You're free indeed. I pray for you this week that you will experience a higher level the power of his resurrection, the fellowship of his suffering. Until next time, this is Pastor Timothy. Thank you for joining us again this week.